Okay, everyone, welcome to the conversation. Outspoken Opinionated. Of course, I am your host, Edwin Mayah. We're here today in the conversation land. I want to say welcome to the conversation, Outspoken Opinionated. Again, I am your host, Edwin Mayah. I'm super excited for us to be here today. The conversation is going to be great, but first, of course, we got to do the little, the little preliminary stuff. So, if you aren't following the podcast, please go to the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated on Facebook, the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated on YouTube. Subscribe, like our videos, watch other videos. You can go to Spotify, the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. You can go to Apple Podcasts, the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated, and anywhere you find your podcast, the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. But we're also exclusively on the Alive Podcast Network. You have to download the Alive Podcast via your Google Store, your Apple Store. Get the app downloaded and you can listen to us. The conversation, Outspoken Opinionated, of course. Again, I am your host, Edwin Mayah. And today we have a great conversation with somebody I think it's gonna be really dope. I think we're gonna have a good conversation. It's funny that he will introduce himself and then you guys will see why I say it's funny. But without further ado, I would like to invite the villager to the conversation. Sir, are you here?
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome to the conversation. I'm super excited that you're here. I can't tell you how excited I am to have this conversation with you because I feel it's like, it's needed. And I'm super excited that you took the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. But with that being said, can you just tell the people who you are, what you do, and all that good stuff?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me, Edwin. From us meeting the first time at the Sunday dinners Liberian,
Sunday dinner, yep.
And the following conversations that we've been having has been really, really aligned and enlightening.
Yep.
They have been they go from A to Z to Z to A, and so it's very, very it's very, very nourishing. So thank you for sharing your platform with me for me to tell my story and just to share about who I am.
Yep.
My name is Abdul Rasheed Adekunle Adaranijo.
Hold on. You have to give it speed, slow down, break them up. Eh?
Abdul Rasheed, which means
Uh-huh.
a vessel of the right-minded.
Okay.
Adekunle, which means the crown is plenty at home. And my last name is Adaranijo, which means we are good in the community.
Hi.
But when I go out and I introduce myself to people, I introduce myself to people as leader. That is a name that I answer by. And when people write me a check, they can write my actual name. But
That's a good one.
but for the most part, I go by Villager. I am a visual artist. I'm Nigerian born. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. Also, I am also a cultural producer as well. And what that means is I'm interested in thinking and investigating the ways that the past is alive in the present, and the evolving notions of identity, what it means to be a contemporary African, and continuously transforming the energy that is saturated in the material and the metaphysical to explore African identity, cultural heritage, knowledge systems, and so on. Basically, I'm an African in the US. I moved to the US in 2023. And so a lot of my life is like, who am I? Where am I from? Where am I going? What am I here to do? And so, yeah, we'll get into more of the details later, but that's most of the information. Quickly, you can find me online on Instagram at villager.me, VLLAGER.me, and then all of the information that you can ever find about.
And so let me tell you something that's very, very interesting, right? So the people that follow me, the people that subscribe to me and all that stuff, do you know how I call them?
What do you call them?
I call them my villagers. This is my village. The people that follow us and all that stuff, we call them the village. when we first started the podcast, we had like my team. We used to call the team the village,
Oh wow.
and we'd sit there and yeah. So when the villagers, so you are
So I
definitely
like
part
you.
of. Exactly, you are definitely part of this. But I said thank you so much for just being here, just for us to just have a great conversation and talk. I think we all are changing. We're all going through a lot of changes in our lives. And
Hmm.
I think just embracing change and navigating growth in whatever adversity you're going through or whatever situation you're going through, I think it's a great conversation to have. And especially with someone who is an artist, you're doing so many different things. And I think just the fact that you told us that you moved to the US in 2023,
Oh,
is that
13,
right?
13, 13.
2013. Okay,
Yeah.
2013. So you're moving here, you're being a part of this culture, you're coming in with your culture. I want to ask you, what was your cultural experience when you first got into the US?
Hmm. That's very, very. That is a place that I'm still working from. But
Okay.
it's a place that I'm finding a lot of ease, and more and more and more and more information is informing that experience. But when I first came to America, I think this was the first time where I think this conversation is really important when we talk about African identity and Afro diasporic identity, because black is black everywhere, and all
Hmm.
of those things in those places is African. So African is African is African everywhere. Africans in Brazil, Africans in Cuba, Africans in Haiti, Africans in Louisiana and Baltimore. When I first came to the U.S., I was living in Maryland, and it was the first time where like I was faced with this um, evolution of my identity, where this was the first time I saw and regarded myself as black. And so for me, um, African American culture uh, provided a new lens for me to see myself from. And then it also provided me the space to kind of start questioning what it meant to be Nigerian, what it meant to be Yoruba, because all those identities were constructed from a colonial lens anyway.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I first came here, it was the first time that first time that I was like, oh, okay, there are other black people that are not African. Because, I'm like 13, I'm still figuring out the world. Like, there are other black people who are not Nigerian, because I've never left Nigeria before, who are not living on the continent. And this is not like I didn't know black people existed. Of course, you see in media, but I was living in it.
Hmm.
And this is I was getting to understand, um, the social aspects of these cultures, how to say, excuse me, my bad, or I want to get water from the tap, faucet, not tap.
Hmm.
So all of these like little nuances and like how to show up in space. I was also kind of experiencing. I was lucky at this time that I wasn't around. Um, I was around a lot of people that looked like me, so I was. The cultural experience was so expansive that it's like I said,
Hmm.
it's still a place that I'm like, oh, culture is always being informed by time and space. So I think it's something that is always continuous.
And I like that you said because I think culture is always changing. I think as we evolved, culture evolves, our minds. Well, culture don't evolve. As we evolve, we get to experience culture in different ways.
Hmm.
And I think we see culture differently. We experience culture differently as we as humans evolved. And I think when we talk about change and you talk about, coming here and the culture difference of, yes, there are black people, but they talk a certain kind of way. Their values are different.
Yeah.
The way they respond to certain things
Yeah.
are different. My little sound effects are, here. Oh, they're looking at you like they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay." I'm just like doing what I gotta do that. And all these different changes that we have to go through when we get all emerge into this culture of the US,
Right.
into the culture of living in Baltimore, culture of living in other side of Maryland or even the culture of DC, you get to see the different aspect. And what's funny is every community, every area you go in, you learn a different part of the Black culture.
Right.
Because the way the Black people act in Baltimore is not the same way the Black people act in DC.
Right. Right.
Their culture is different, like
Right.
even their music, the things that they listen to,
Right.
their art, everything is so different. But when you started to approach growth,
Mm.
how did you deal with uncertainty?
Mm. I guess this is moving away from the topic of culture.
Mm-hmm. We're
Yeah.
going into growth.
Yes, 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 yes. More personally, as I approach, the question is, as I approach uncertainty.
As you approach growth, as you growing,
Mm-hmm.
have when faced with uncertainty,
Mm.
what have you done? Let me put
Mm.
it that way.
Yeah, so I can talk about the place that I am right now.
Okay,
Um,
go for it.
the place that I am right now. Um, so for a while in my life, I used to do this thing where I would think about who I was in the future,
Mm-hmm.
and um, I would think about what that person would feel, what that
Mm.
person would experience, where would they be, um, and then I would feel it and allow it to move through my body, and then let it go.
Okay.
Um, I the place that I am right now is coming from like months of deep uncertainty. Um, I extended a lot of energy into my work, financial resources, my heart. Uh, I went through a really big breakup. I lost kind of like housing security in ways
Mm-hmm.
that I had had for like 2 years. Uh, I lost a lot of friends. Um, and this period also caused me to kind of forget who I was because
Okay.
I was continuously struggling. Uh, and what I realized through that moment is that the things that made me, the things that brought me there before those changes happened, were also the things that I ended up falling back on to push me. So
Mm.
affirmations, so scripting and writing, making music, making art, going on walks, um, you know, looking at I write a lot. I have so many notebooks. There's one notebook in front of me as we speak. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and reading a lot. And I think like I said, scripting. So I write what I want to experience.
Okay.
Um, and going back to the beginning when I was saying I used to imagine who the person I wanted to be. Now I was writing that person that I wanted to be. And there's some days where, I mean, this is like the higher self side. The lower self side is there's some days where the only way through um, is by feeling. So there's some days where I
Mm.
just cry. There's some days where I walk um, for hours. Um, there's some days where I go out to the park, or I'm in nature. I'm touching the grass. I'm doing yoga. I'm stretching. Some days I'm going to my favorite water spots and I'm just crying. I'm walking in the darkness and looking at the moon, just crying, or sitting in front of my altar and just crying, or simply just complaining to my ancestors and being like, if I fail, it's you guys' fault, and I know you said you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna fail me. So, I'm spending days in the darkness. But I think um, moving through the change happens when I embrace all the parts, the bad and the good, knowing that this will also propel me. All parts of it will propel me
Mm-hmm.
into who I am becoming.
I like that you said it, and I think even though we gird away from culture, but I think you brought some culture in the change again. Because
Yeah,
as I'm listening to you and you're expressing yourself, I see it as you're really in tune
yeah,
to your culture, you're in tune with yourself, and so you allow yourself to feel these emotions, you allow yourself to have its own space, and you deal with the energy around.
yeah,
But I like the fact that you put culture within whatever situation you're going through, whatever change is happening. You make sure that, okay, like you talk about your ancestors, you talk about going to, stand in front of your altar, you talk about going to the water,
yeah.
and people don't understand that all those different things, those are different things that our ancestors or
Yeah.
our culture that exists when they talk about water, the purity of water, going and taking long walks, or
Pointing
the
someone,
fact that
giving
when you
someone money on your wall, you know.
exactly, or you're talking to your ancestors, or you're having these vivid conversations. But as you prepare, because I can say it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like mentally you prepare yourself as you go in this physical thing, mentally prepare yourself. So how do you do that?
Um, there's this thing that I say to myself. Well, one, I think there's a place that I operate from is that like I'm a spiritual being having a physical experience.
Yes,
And so Erica Badu also she says that on one of her
it's an experience. This life is an experience.
yes, and we talked about that. We talked
Yes, we
about
did.
that.
Uh-huh.
And so the idea of experiencing is very paramount to me as I move through my life. I'm in a constant state of remembering that my potential is change,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that my truth is change. And not only that my truth is change, that the universal truth is change.
Mm.
And so, if that is true, what I actually then show up to do is I show up and say that I am a worthy enough vessel for this experience. I'm a worthy enough vessel for this transmutation. I'm a worthy enough vessel for this transformation. And I just pray that my feet, the roads, guide my feet towards my greater destiny. I pray that the air flows my heart to the greatest of heights, that water touches parts of my heart and washes me clean, and that fire burns passion and grace and fury so that I can be reborn over and over again. So yeah, I show up and I say that I'm a worthy enough vessel. And then I also trust that nature, um, my truest nature will be reflected in nature. And so when I
Okay.
go on these expeditions, when I go on these
Mm-hmm.
journeys, inward or outward, I am having the conversation with nature, um, whether my own inner nature and thinking about what can fire touch within me, what can air touch within me, what can water touch within me. Or I go out to these spaces where someone's having a bonfire. I'm going to that bonfire and I'm staring in the fire and I'm playing the drums in front of the fire and I'm speaking and I'm allowing things to be burned away and the ashes to be, to regenerate something. Or I go to the water and I just hear the flow and I just cry. So many things like that. But nature, my vessel, me, one and the same. And the mindset is that I'm a worthy enough vessel for the experience itself.
And so, as you talk about this experience, like I said, we know we have conversation about this, and we know that both of us share similar ideas when it comes to we're being part of this experience,
Mhm.
and we don't take it lightly. We make sure that like every moment counts. Everything that I do, every person that I meet, every space that I occupy, I'm occupying it for a reason. And
Ooh,
so,
the way you
as
said that
you
one, two, three was like a
every space that you occupy, every
yes,
person that you meet,
yes,
every opportunity that you have to be
yes.
a part of this experience, let it be meaningful.
Mm,
And so I speak to you of someone who, I can sense that, you good about energy.
mm,
You focus on energy, you make sure that you're seated in the right spaces, you meet with the
mm,
right people. How do you ensure that your energy
Ooh,
is always connected
ooh,
to the positive side of
ooh,
this experience?
ooh,
I told you that's what happened. You do this. So how do you do that? Huh?
ooh. The questions are getting.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, oh, okay. We are truly digging deep here. No, these are
Yeah, we are.
yeah, these are basically how do you protect your energy? Yeah,
Yeah.
and how do you yeah. Hmm. That's
So how do you put yeah, so for you being an artist, right?
right,
You being an artist, your work is being exposed to a lot of people.
right.
You go when you go to perform, there are a lot of people there. The mixture of energy, the room sometimes I can tell it might be heavy, it might be light. But how do you protect yourself in that space when you go in to these experiences?
I'm still learning.
Okay.
I'm still learning. I feel like that's a forever
Yeah.
approach of mine is I'm still learning. One of the things that come to mind is I remember that I can also dictate what my reality is, and like I remember that like
Yes. Yes. Say that again.
I remember that I can dictate what my reality is, and and just operating in the sense that like I'm here for me first. And when it's all said and done, like I'm going to go and be with myself. So actually, one of the things I wrote about today, um, amongst many things, let me see, but it's basically a bunch of text, and it just reads
Mm-hmm.
boundaries, no, no, feeling comfortable within, feeling safe, boundaries. That does not make me feel comfortable. No, I feel unsafe by you doing that. My
Mm-hmm.
absence is okay if people cross my boundaries. No, boundaries. I need some time to think about that. I can't do that. I'm not okay with that. This doesn't sit well with me. Please stop. Please stop. No. So I've been doing the work of fortifying my boundaries. Because especially as someone who's in a public sphere,
Yeah.
who's in a public space, when I talk about my name is Abdul Rasheed, vessel of the right minded, I'm supposed to be in this position where some of us are supposed to be teachers by action, some of us are supposed to be teachers by example.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us are supposed to be facilitators. Some of us, for me, I'm a Virgo. My life is servitude. It's literally structured by my names. Like my names are action items, like three
Mm-hmm.
action items. And all of them are aligned with servitude. So I know that I'm here to leave this world a better place than I found it. And sitting with that, like this was also part of why, you know, I in 2022 when I first started painting, I sat down for like 6 hours and I made my first painting, and it was really small, but this was a time where I renamed myself Villager because love was at the center of my heart. And I realized that there were a lot of people who were responsible for me being here.
Mm-hmm.
All the experiences, um, my family, um, institutions, friends, all this, coalescence of coalescence of factors that have made me. And I think the best way that I can serve those things is if I can be me all the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the work right now that I'm doing is how can I continue to be me all the way? It looks like saying no when I'm not comfortable with something. It looks like my discernment is very sharp. I can
Okay.
sense things that are happening that I'm like, and a lot of times my face can't hide it.
And you get in
Like
trouble. Right.
my face can't hide it. Very, very expressive. But what that means is like I'm usually able to sense things peacefully and
Mm-hmm.
move away from it. There's sometimes where I sense things that, this thing is off. This person is off. They're acting a certain way towards me, and then I hold it against myself. You know, and so that's also the work that I'm doing right now, is to know that I am complete. I am complete in all moments as I continuously become. I am
Mm.
complete in all moments as I continuously become. So it leaves space for me to continuously become. It leaves space for me to die and be reborn again. Malidoma Some writes, I just wrote this today as well. Knowledge, knowledge comes at a price, and it cannot be acquired safely, for it comes at the price which is the death of our former selves.
Yes.
So, I know that sometimes I hold my discernments against myself, and the work that I'm doing now is to know that, like, I'm complete at every state of my becoming, and that also leaves space for me to say, okay, well, maybe you're responsible for this, but for the most part, it's like I'm gonna protect my own energy, and this is not mine. A lot of times, a lot of times all we're doing is projecting, and projecting cannot be, it's not always negative or positive. It's always
Correct.
it's always in, because how we react or relate to people is a reflection of us. That is a
Mm-hmm.
projection, that is a reflection, that is a mirror. And so I just have to put that into perspective, that account for yourself, honey, because no one's gonna account for you. Love yourself, because no one's protect yourself in your space,
Yep.
because no one's gonna do it. So that's the work that I'm fortifying right now. So this conversation is at a perfect.
And I like that you say that because I something that I am practicing is a sense where I protect me because I'm only responsible for me. So I protect what I respond to. I protect how I respond to certain things. Things that before I would get all routed up, I don't do that no more because I'm just like, this is my energy. I cannot give that person that power to bring out that negativity out of me or bring it in me and stuff like that. And so I've realized that it's me. I protect my personal space. I protect me. I protect my energy. And I think you might correct me, but I think most often, like you said, when people do something or people say something to you, you are only responsible for the way you react.
Yeah.
So if you have gone to the place where you talked about dying to self, where you have died to self, and there is a passage in the Bible I can't remember, where you talk about when you die to self, when you really die to self, you give Christ the opportunity to come in and take complete control
Mm,
because you are not about yourself anymore.
mm,
You've done, it's about me and you are in this place. You die to self. Self has to die
mm,
for Christ to take complete control. And I like when you talk about, this transition I will go through and this change and all this stuff is once you surrender.
right.
I think that's the word I was looking for. Once you surrender,
Yeah.
you
Did
start
you?
to you start to realize things. Your energy is different. The way you do certain because you then to realize that okay, there are certain things I can control and there are certain things I can't control. But the things that I can control are the things that I bring forth. And so looking and speaking with you and getting more insights on what you do as an artist, and I think I said that earlier, you have to conduct yourself a certain kind of way. There are people
Mm,
who wants to come into your space, and there are people who want you to, can you do this and can you do that and can you come over here and do this? I know you talk about I'm learning how to say no, I'm learning how to do it. But how difficult it is for you, especially in the fact with you are an LLC, you are your own business, you are the face of your company, you
the
gotta
CEO,
work
the
to eat.
worker.
You are the HR, the CFO, the CMO, the everything and you gotta eat. So when do you draw the line to say, okay, that project is not for me? That person, I hear it, the ideas they have is great, it's gonna be good, but that's just not for me. How have you been able to create that if you had created that for
Mm,
yourself?
mm. So I'm gonna write this question down so I don't forget.
Yes.
But I wanted to go back to something you were saying earlier, is like
Mm-hmm.
protecting your own response and reaction towards something, or like
Yes.
being responsible for your own reaction. Um,
Mm-hmm.
One thing that has also come up is that sometimes there's an African adage that says, "A man needs the eyes of another to see what the shadow of the tree is
Hi.
hiding."
Shy. Okay. Well.
So I wouldn't explain that. That's for
Mm-hmm.
people to relate to, however they however you wish to relate to. Um, on a very simplistic level, what that means is that we do not know everything that we are. Um, and through this like life experience, we are continuously remembering who we are.
Yep.
The remembrance can come through experiences that are outside of us, or they can come through experiences that are inside of us. And what I've also, come to understand is that my interactions with others is also a mirror, because what I'm receiving from them will inform who I am, because they're
Yep.
showing me who I am too. Um, and so I've also come to the place of knowing that there are some things that I don't know, um, that might be unearthed and revealed to me, and that I have to take the time to sit with it and ask, how does this reflect my true self?
Mm.
Um, because we have shadows. That's also another thing I've been really working. Because I used to exist in my higher self so much. Yeah, there can be a toxic way of being. Toxic positivity is a thing.
Yep.
Like you can be blind to your own shadows, to the ways that a lot of our intentions don't always equal to the consequences that they um they incite. And I used to be in this like heavy heavy positive. Now I'm getting to the chance I spend continuously um continuously spending the chance with my shadows, which is showing me why those moments as my higher self were so precious. And now
Mm.
I'm continuously traveling, and in the present moment, I just wanted to say that about that former
Yeah.
ideal, and I feel like it also relates to how do I draw the line by saying no. It's because I think like I know this. Everything around us is when I say like nature is our truest nature, everything around us is continuously informing um, everything that we are experiencing. So sometimes
Exactly.
people might ask me to do something and I hear a train. I'm like, I have to sit. Before I say anything, I have to sit. Or some, you know, um, synchronicities is one of the ways that when I talk about when you talk about ease, is one of the ways that I can like depend on the ease of life and the ease of the universe. That if this thing is not for me, there will be signs.
Oh yeah, I agree.
There will be signs.
Yes.
And it's like another thing is like how does my body feel when I'm around you? How does my body feel when you told me this? Um, are we trying to set up a meeting and it's not really working for the both of us? Um, or actually, um does this even reflect my values? Um, I've also been in experiences where I wanted to work with people and they the price they gave me was so high. I was like, oh, cool, we're not gonna be able to work together. And I had to make that decision which also has left space for like the day not want to work together. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's also something that I've never had to do that. And yeah, I've said no to people. Um, like for example, last year I got invited, actually two vending opportunities. I got invited to vend when I had my show coming up, and then after the show I already went up, I got invited to vend in another place, and I just had to say no. Like I just had to be
Mm-hmm.
like, this is not feasible for me right now. Um, First one, like I'm preparing for this exhibition that's going to be happening 2 days after your event, so I
Oh
can't do
yeah.
that. Second one, I don't have the financial ability to even pay you to vend in this place. So the best you can do is if you want me there, let me come there for free because I'm the one selling the products, you
Yeah.
know. So and it both of those things did not align. Um yeah, and there's sometimes where I just go and pray about it, and I go to my altar, and I have various ways that uh, I can use to see truest answer. Most of
Mm-hmm.
the time, it's something as simple as like, how does my body feel? And knowing that these people want to work with me because of who I am and the work that I do, I think it makes it easier to say yes because I know they're coming. You want me. You're coming to, you're asking for
Yeah.
me. Uh, so I haven't had any actually business wise because I'm really good at like operating business. I'm really good
Mm-hmm.
at operating business. Uh, so business wise, I haven't had a situation where it's been difficult or it's been like challenging saying what happens is the person that's where we
Personal. Yep.
yeah personal and that makes it muddy because as an artist then it's like, well, are you asking me to do this because I'm your friend and
Mm-hmm.
you just like you just or do you just want me to be there because I will ask questions and ask questions usually when people just want me for just, oh yeah, villagers, the questions are going to like, you know it's going to be like, well, don't ask too much questions, just show up. And it's just like, no, that's not how I do things. I want to know why I'm there. So the questions in the Inquisition um, always just ends up being protection because they get tired. And I'm just here like, I just want to know. I'm, I
Yeah.
want to know.
And I don't want to walk into anything where I'm shocked or I'm out of touch or this is not where I'm supposed to be. And I think
Right.
I've heard a lot and I just go with it because every idea is not a good idea. It can look pretty, it can look the right, it can be at the right time, but it gotta work for me. And I like that you said that because I think when it comes to business and people who aren't personal, it's easy for you to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is not gonna work for me," and you can
Yeah.
shake it off and move on.
Yeah.
But when it's personal, then it becomes like, "Oh, but I work my entire program around you, and I know
Yeah.
how busy you are, and I really appreciate if you be there, and da, 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 da," and you're going to this whole thing, and you're just not feeling it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, but I have come to the place now where I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
And there are people, and there are people who it's like, once they say, I'm like, sure, I'll be there, I will do it. Da, da, da. And it can be the same person. It can be they can bring this event and say, can you do it? I'll say, sure, I'm there, I can do it. And then maybe 2, 3 years later, they bring another event and they say, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not feeling it. And
Hmm.
then what do you mean? And sometimes I have to tell them, I say, the scope is different. You want me to do something, but that's not what I do. Like, I can do this. I can only do this. But if you want me to do all these other things, I can do all these other things. I can
Right.
do this. And
Like
I
what
think
is
a lot
what
of
is what
time,
is the capacity? What is my capacity?
exactly, exactly. And you have to let them know, like, I don't have the bandwidth for this.
Yes.
Like, I can come in, I can do your show, and I can leave. But if you want me to do extra stuff, meet and greet, do all that, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
That's not me. That's
Yeah.
a lot of energy. That meeting a lot of people. That's taking, and people don't understand. And when you say, I think when like for me and you and a couple of people who I know who are big with their energy, they don't understand how much when you're meeting all these people, how much you're giving, and you're just giving, and it's like you get exhausted.
Yeah.
And so I'd be like, I can do it. No, I'm sorry, it's not gonna work for me. I can't be like, oh, but you're good at it, And you so I know I'm good at it, but I know my limits. I know what I can and I cannot do, and I have to draw these boundaries. And so I've been, that's something I've been practicing too. But I want to ask you, in this role, as you navigate change, you're embracing your growth. You talk about being this experience, all the things you're doing. How does patience
Eesh.
play in it?
Oof.
Because sometimes you have to wait.
Uh, so because I'm a overthinker in in
Mm-hmm.
a way that um in a way that like I spend my time analyzing.
Yeah.
Patience is something that like inherently comes with analyzing. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love when I was in studied environmental um, chemistry in school. One of my favorite classes was statistics. Actually, no, my master's. One of my favorite classes is statistics because I really enjoyed crunching the numbers and taking the time to understand fully all the aspects of this thing. Um, and so I think that one of the characteristics that I have been able to cultivate over the years is intrinsic patience.
Mm.
Where like through my process of doing, through my process of making, through my process of being, patience is always there because a lot of times I'm probably just spending that time thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And then I wait for the stimulus. I don't know if you know how much you know about human design, but I'm a manifesting generator. So I,
Okay.
I wait for stimulus, and when it comes, I do it immediately. So a lot of those times, it's like you know I'm spending all that time ideating and thinking, how is this gonna do? Like this gonna. I wanted to make a logo. I wanted to make a logo for my website for like months,
Mm-hmm.
and almost 6 months. And one day I woke up one morning and I just did it, and I was like, oh, okay. Today, I'm going to be curating a show soon, actually in May. And what I realized is I've been wanting to curate a show this year, but in December, I sat down in the darkness. I remember I was crying this day. I was stretching my hips, and um, it's at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I wrote this idea for this show. The show that I was asked to curate, the themes are like one to one. I didn't have to change too much. So I say all this to say that like my relationship with patience is probably not in the one directional way or in the linear way that people think about patience. I take the time um to ideate and gestate and ruminate for so long that I have no like it's like patience is just part of the code there. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I'm being patient with this idea even before even sometimes like the painting behind me, even sometimes with painting, as I'm working, I would just sit in front of it and I would just look for almost an hour sometimes, and I'll just look, and what's happening in my head is I'm doing so many things and seeing how it's going to play out. My background in environmental chemistry, I worked in the labs, Maryland Department of Health Labs, Institute of Marine and Environmental Technology, doing research, environmental research in water, testing water samples. Like it's very sequential, sequential,
Mm-hmm.
sequential, and you have to be committed through each one of those steps. So in my life, um, I've been able to embrace the sequential step of ideating so much that um, patience just comes as one of the terms and conditions. And I think um, that always ends up being for my good because it
Mm.
means I spend the time to honor whatever idea, whatever feeling, even thinking about just emotional intelligence as well. Whenever I'm feeling something, I'm probably spending a lot of time thinking about that. By the time I'm ready to feel it, it's a lot. Um,
I, I like that. I like that because for me, it's giving me conscious. It's giving me purpose. It's giving me I don't just wake up and do things. I sit
yeah,
there, I curate it, I make sure that, okay, so you think about it, you take the time to think about it. And while you're thinking, you're processing, you're building at the same time, you are thinking.
yeah,
And so there are so many things happening. So I think for you, I think that's, I don't know, I look at it as a gift that most artists have. That's why when they
yeah.
are ready to launch, they just come. It's like these
Boom.
people who like I like to see it. I love fashion, so I like to see with fashion designers. It's
Mm,
where they're saying, "Oh, I'm bringing a line," and they will give you like 15 different things, and be like, "How you came up with 15 things?" And you're
yeah,
thinking they just came up with the 15 things in the last three
no,
months. No, they put up one piece, and from that piece, they work 15 different pieces of that piece, and they have so many different things. And I think that's the gift you guys have. It's like your brain is always working. It's like your brain
yeah.
works faster than most of the people who, the regular, would say the regular people.
Everybody's doing it. I mean, it's a blessing. I mean, so an- another African adage. Let me start putting this. By the end of this
If
podcast episode, we're probably gonna have a nice collection of
no
African.
problem, problem. They don't have two heads. Everybody have one head. They should understand.
That's one of
That's one of them. You don't have two, you have one. Use it. Uh-huh.
that's one of them. Um,
Uh-huh.
it says when each of us is born, we're born into certain conditions that are
Mm-hmm.
equally limiting and liberating. Um, and it is up to us as the drivers of our destiny. I've remixed it now with Village Jacob. Um,
Mm-hmm.
as the drivers of our destiny to dictate what the experience of our life would be. And I also think about each individual moment being equally liberating and limiting. Each experience, each trait being limiting for experience. So when I said like I'm an overthinker, I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
proud that I'm an overthinker because it's
Yes.
equally limiting and liberating. We talked about the liberating part. The limiting part is sometimes take my thoughts to bed. For the past
Mm-hmm.
week, I've been thinking this list has been a lot, right? I take my thoughts to bed and I sleep and I'm working in my sleep.
Sleep. Yep.
And I wake up.
And you start from where you and you continue. Yep.
So I mean it has been an intentional challenge for myself to break things. So like I have a yoga mat always
Mm-hmm.
here and I need to stretch. Um, I go out, touch some grass, stretch, do some cartwheels, look in the sun, lay in the sun. I write. There's always so many books. Like this is a stack. This is a stack of books that I'm reading.
Mm-hmm. And you were reading all through all of them at the same time?
Yeah, kind of just like moving
Okay.
through because I'll read something in one book and you'd be like, oh, then I'm processing that. Then I remember this is related to something here. So it's almost like the books that I read as well are like curating the life that I'm living. Like I I got this book from the library, Contemporary African Art since
Mm-hmm.
1980. I found this book in the library as well. The Time Is Always Now, which is an exhibition that was at Philadelphia Museum. And then I got approached to curate a show of African art.
So the experience and the energy that we give ourselves to prepare us for the experience that's ahead of us.
Yes.
So when your mind, let's put it this way, your brain was working and telling you, oh, what is that book talking about? Let me go and read that book. So you pick up that book. The other book who is kind of connected to it, also your mind goes to it because you're literally being prepared for something that's already destined for you. And that is because
Yeah.
you have died to self. You allow
Yeah.
the universe to work through you and to move you. You don't stress. You
Oh,
just live.
I do live. It's
And
that's
that's
me.
why I tell
I
people
do live. There is stress too because
it's yeah, because people expect you to this about to happen, but I'm sorry, I'm just living. I'm enjoying
see,
this experience.
I will be honest.
Uh,
I think, like I said, yeah, I do stress. I do stress
yeah,
though.
it's
I do,
natural, it's normal.
I do worry. But then what I do is I work, equal, I work an equal amount or more. The amount of time I spend stressing, I must work that amount. The amount of time I spend worrying, I must work that amount.
Hmm.
So I'm actually very pragmatic and and what's this word called? Not be like utilitarian, like very I'm very hands on about not surrendering to my suffering and not becoming because suffering is also part of the human experience as well.
True.
Um Bell Hooks, all about love, Bell Hooks, which is I read something I was reading last week. She was also kind of talking about how um suffering, yes, our suffering is the place of suffering and broken spirit when accepted or embraced is also a place of peace and possibility. Our suffering is our chemical waste that is used to make new growth possible. So suffering
Mm,
and stress is also part of this human existence.
mm,
It's what we do with it, um, how we alchemize it, how we transform it.
mm.
That's really which goes back to what you were saying before. Is like it's really how you respond um,
Yeah.
that truly matters. So I do stress, I do worry, I just respond 10 times harder.
But the funny thing is, stressing, worrying is part of life. But do you allow it to consume you? I think that is where I think that for me is the main thing. It's like, yeah, it's part
Yeah,
of you. You're gonna have suffering, they're bad. Like they say, they're bad, there is evil, there is good.
yeah,
If you succumb to evil and you allow it to consume you, it's gonna consume you. But so I think it's a suffering. It's like, yeah, we worry, we of the uncertainty. There are a lot of things that we aren't certain is going to happen. We're living, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We can't predict what's going to happen tomorrow. So there are sometimes where we do worry. We do worry about certain things, but do you let that worry consume you where you can't do anything? You can't think straight. You can't do nothing. Just, oh my God. It's like this thing, I don't know, a couple of years ago when these people started shooting up in the malls and people were like, oh, I can't go to the mall. I can go to the mall. I used to be one of those people like, I'm not going to the mall. I ain't want to deal with this. I was like, so you're trying to tell me that I will not go to the mall because I am thinking that there might be a shooter there who's going to shoot me? Okay, how am I going to live if I'm in a constant fear that somebody is going to attack me? And I had to get my mind out of that. But they had me down for like a couple of months.
yeah.
So I think when we, it's like, yeah, we'll go through this experience, calling it life, and as we move through it, there are going to be things that we have to deal with. But how we propel through those things, and our triumphs, and how we conquer these things, and all the great things that come out of it, I think it's how we do it. But I want to ask, what are your values
Ooh,
as a person?
ooh,
Hmm.
ah, this is very expensive. Um, regarding what?
Just as a person, as a human being.
Mm,
Let's forget about an artist. Let's forget about all the other things. Just a human being.
mm. So, which is
You.
very interesting because
Hmm.
there is no, for me, there is no
Yes.
separation between me
Okay.
as a person
Uh-huh.
and me
Uh-huh.
as an artist because
Okay.
my life is informing my work and my work is
Okay.
informing my life. Um,
Okay.
and
So what are your values?
being African
Being African. And everything that comes with it.
and everything that comes with it, being myself and everything, being
Hmm.
myself first is my first value. Be
Yes.
myself first and everything that comes with it. Um, my safety, um, my, you know, uh, self-respect, self-love,
Hmm.
uh, and then being an African person, being a Nigerian person, being a Yoruba person, and all the things that come with it. My ancestral practice, um, reverence, uh, my sense of family in this very
Yeah.
independent kind of non-traditional way. Um, what are my values? Yeah, I think it's so expansive that um, I think I the best way to, and this might sound very abstract, but I
Hmm.
think the best way to answer this question is like I am a walking embodiment of what my values are, what I do, what I say, what I make, what I wear, where I am, how I show up informs um, what my values are. And
I like that you said that, because I know for me, my value is me showing up and being authentic. Anything that would take me outside of me and I cannot be me, it's not for me.
yeah,
Any human being, any person,
yeah,
anything. And I say it across, like you said, across the board. Whether it's me being a father, whether it's me being in a platonic relationship, whether it's me being a son, a brother, a cousin, or whoever it is. If I
don't leave the
am not
love out or a lover.
a lover, a husband, or everything, whatever it is, if I am not me, it's not for me.
Hmm. Yeah,
It is not for me. And it has taken me years for me to get to that. I didn't understand what it was, but I knew that every time I had to put up a wall, or I had to reduce myself
yeah,
in a situation, I knew that it wasn't me. And I was like, yeah, I can do this.
yeah,
It's like you with these friends who are like, oh, why are you so loud? Why you have to do that? Why you have to speak to the person that way? Why you have to say this? Not just like, but that's me.
yes,
If you say something to me, I'm gonna correct you.
yes,
When I go into a space, that's just me. I'm bubbly, I'm friendly, I want to get to know everybody. That's my
yeah,
personality. But if I have to dim my light
yeah,
because someone else is uncomfortable, that's not for me. I go. And until now, I realize, okay, that's my value. My value is, if I'm not my authentic self,
yeah,
it's not gonna work.
yeah.
Yeah,
True,
yeah. But you see,
heavy
it's
on
fun.
that.
It's. I gotta be on it, because I think a lot of times people wants you people who, I think what I've realized is, when people meet people who have certain kind of energy, it affects them, and so they try to dim you. Because like you go around, you're friendly, you're nice, you're loving, you're kind, everybody love you. Some people don't like that. They don't want you. It's like you're overshadowing them. It's like you're taking away their shine. And
Yeah,
so they're trying to, why you gotta be like that? Why you gotta do this? I had
yeah.
one friend, I had somebody before we end, I would tell you this story. I had a friend where every time I wore something, it was, but why do you have to wear that? What, this was just a little event. Why you have to dress up? Why you have to do this?
Some
Do
of
you
us are
always
here
have
to
to have
inspire.
I'm like, that's just me. If some I'm the person, if somebody invite me out and say, come to this event, I'm already preparing myself. I'm already, okay, I'm gonna wear this, I'm gonna wear that, I'm gonna do it this way. I see the person, I'm asking, so what's the thing? What you're going for? And I realized that I had this friend and he will always pick on something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is a problem. So when we actually fell out, I was like, I see, because now this weight has left me. I don't have to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's been pleasant having you here. I think
Oh,
your demeanor, the way you carry yourself, the way you answer questions is that grace and that joy, that how can I say it? That simple joy that you carry that makes it so easy for you to do the things that you do. But before you leave us, which you're not leaving us because you know you're going to be back with us,
yeah.
we're going to work on this and you're going to be back. But before you leave this day today, what lesson can you leave for someone who's trying to find themselves to be this artist or whatever they want to be? What can you say to them? What gem can you leave with them?
This will be speaking to myself,
Okay.
former self. Um, just thinking about the emotional connection to this. I think it would be so easy for me to talk to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would say to someone else is actually what I needed and continuously need to hear. Um, who you are is a gift.
Mm.
Your presence is a gift. Fundamentally, this world will not be the same if you were not here. Quite literally, it won't be the same if you were not here. Beyonce says, I'm one of one. I'm the only one.
Only one.
Unique. That's what you are.
Yes.
Um, and that's a gift.
Yep.
That is a gift. That is a blessing. And every day that you wake up is an opportunity to be yourself. In as much uncertainty, in as much knowingness as you can be,
Mm-hmm.
hold on to the parts of yourself that you know. Hold on to the parts of yourself that you know that you don't know. Hold it very loosely, hold it very tightly. Know that you are the driver of your own destiny, and everything that you need is already in your hands. Everything that you need is continuously finding you because your existence is divinely ordained. What are the odds? What are the odds that you are here? What are the
Mm-hmm.
odds that everything that you have experienced, you are still here? What are the odds that so and so
Yes.
and so and so people came through this world, died, came through this world, died, came through this world, died, and you are here?
Mm-hmm.
And there's everything and much more is continuously plotting for your good.
Yes.
Abundance is abundance needs you to experience its own reality through you. And everything that you cry and complain about, it's because you know that it deserves you.
Oh, yes. I'm about to say amen.
Everything you're passionate about, it's because you know and you feel that it's bridging itself towards you. Everything that you know you need to be, is because that thing also needs you to be embodied in a physical form. Everything that you need is a confirmation that it needs you to give it life and purpose. This is what I wrote this note. Everything that you yearn for is a response to the universe seeking to experience itself through you. And abundance will show you how plenty it can be.
Mm.
Purpose will show you how vast and relentless it can be. Love will show you how restorative it can be. And when it's all said and done, you give it all back in gratitude. Not to go on, there is this quote from Ben Oakley, who's a
Mm-hmm.
writer. Um, so the famished road, there's a prayer in there that I often read to myself. And I pray that as I embark on this journey, the road will never swallow you.
Oh, yes.
The river of your destiny will always be you. Faith, suffering will never make you stronger. Success is never, but it will make you fly higher. Your life will always.
Mm. Mm.
That's the word that I need to give myself today. This is also what I'm giving. Gratitude for the space that you gave me. I can literally just open my mouth and say something in between.
I.
I'm so grateful for the wisdom that you gave too. This bright, like bright, shining star.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, wonderful. Mm, wonderful.
Well, I say thank you for being here again. I say thank you for sharing your life with us, for giving us intimacy opportunity to get to know you more than just the villager, to see you, the villager, the artist, the son, the brother, the intellect, and all that great part, different facet of you that make you who you are. And I say thank you so much. And for being here with us, we say thank you again for being here with us. And so we say you have a good evening and we will talk again.
Yeah,
Okay, man.
thank you.
Okay.
Outspoken and opinionated.
We appreciate you. Okay, people. Okay, people. So, of course, that was The Villager. I mean, what more could we have asked for? The conversation was great. I mean, we had everything was doing good. And I say thank you to everyone who, tuning here, being here with us. And again, this was a conversation, Outspoken Opinionated. Of course, I am your host, Edwin Mayah. If you aren't following us, we say go to Facebook, the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. Go to YouTube, the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. If you're on Instagram, like us, follow us on Outspoken Opinionated Podcast, and anywhere you can find your podcast, the Conversation Outspoken Opinionated. But exclusively, we are on the Alive Podcast Network, and it's the Conversation Outspoken and Opinionated. And until there be another Thursday, I hope you all have a great, great time. But guess what? I gotta go. So I see ya.